Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to deal with is the crosshair. I go into my settings and let me just reset everything. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to deal with is the crosshair. If I go into my settings, you can see my crosshair is the average crosshair. But this isn't very good, as I will show you. So if we head into the shooting range, so first thing you're going to want to deal with is the crosshair. Now this is the average crosshair, and it's pretty good. If you're doing something like, if you're doing something like I'm doing, where I'm going through and just hitting, you can nail some shots. But it's also not the best because it's not stylized for you. It's just average. This is what you see in like anything. So I'm going to show you guys a way to make your crosshair styled. So if you go into settings, slide on over to this tab, you have tons of settings for you to change your crosshair. Personally, I like to just have a dot, but let's say you liked a really big crosshair. You could do that. A really small one. You could do that. But you can also change things like the color. And you can disable certain things. So if I go into this, the bars are enabled. So now it's just a dot. Now this is just my recommendation because this is what I use that feels good for me. If I go into the dot, turn up the thickness, round it, change the circle color to red. Change that dot color to red, add a circle. Now you can see we have a completely different crosshair. Now you can pretty much make whatever you want. There are some pretty creative crosshairs I've seen, but whatever makes it so that you're hitting your shots is definitely what you're going to want to change it to. Another thing you're going to want to deal with is your FOV. So if I go into this, go all the way back up, you can see that my FOV is all the way up to 120. Now if I set it to the average, 80, this is what it looks like going when you're walking around. Now if I head into the shooting range, give myself some random items, this is what the game will look like to you. Now, while this is all okay, you still hardly see anything. Like, you have to turn your head all the way around to see this guy. So if you're going through, you don't want to have to make that big of a turn. So what you want to do is turn it up to whatever you're comfortable with. I personally like 120. That way I can just do a little flick, and he's already in my line of view instead of having to do a bigger flick. And this also comes with different advantages, like being able to see enemies that you wouldn't normally see. I also think that adjusting your sensitivity to whatever is right for you is nice, but of course that's always optional. Now let's get into the next thing. Another thing that can make you better is to practice in the shooting range. I'll show you some exercises that I like to do in here. So I have here the default loadout. So if I head over to this jump pad right here, bounce up onto right here. Now if I bounce on this, I have a ton of purple little targets in sight. So something I like to do is bounce up and try to hit as many as you can while bouncing. That way you know how to shoot while moving. It's also nice to do without scoping in. It's pretty difficult, but this will definitely help your aim increase. Another practice that's nice is to get yourself a different kind of loadout that looks something like this. You can go anything on the last bit because we don't need the actual item here. But what all three of these weapons have in common is that they are double jumps. You can double jump with the bow, you can double jump with the daggers, and you can double jump with the fists. So this also allows us to do some stuff like this, which is nice to practice as it's a pretty good way of doing mobility. And since they give you fists, like in the starter loadout, you will immediately have something you can double jump with and practice this with. Another thing is, so when you're double jumping, you don't want to have to go all the way back to your main. So if you're going to do just a small map, usually like something like Arena, the thing I like to do is, here, I'll show you. Alright, so I'm in Arena in a private server with infinite time, So I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks. So when you're here, always remember to slide jump around everywhere, first of all, because this is very quick and allows you to get some good shots in while moving around, because that is exactly what you want. You don't want people to be able to see what you're doing. Another tip I have is if you're running out of ammo and you need to reload, quick, do the reload. As soon as the mag goes in, swap to another weapon and swap back, and it'll put all the ammo in, so you can avoid the unnecessary secondary animation where you pull on the thing. So right here, the thing I like to do for arena is I slide jump over here, slide jump up, and then do a double jump over. But I have a tip for if you're doing something like this. So don't do this, because that takes too much time. What you want to do is actually, you see that punch button in the top left? That makes you punch, obviously. And you can use that over and over again, because it's not like a grenade or anything, so it doesn't have a cooldown. While you're doing the punch, you can double jump. So what's nice is to do something like this. And since it automatically swaps back to your main, it's a very good source of mobility. Another thing that's nice is to do some grenade hopping, and there's two different ways you can do this. You can throw the grenade down and time it, and that can work. But another thing that's nice is to do this. As I was saying, another thing that's nice is you see that it comes to you and you can jump with that. Now, this shouldn't damage you, but it will damage your opponent. So if you need to, you can get up close to your opponent and do that. Now on to the next thing. Here I'm going to offer you some tips on what weapons you should buy. So, now that you're in your weapons, you likely have saved up some keys, which you can see in the top. Spend them on weapons. Here I can show you some pretty good starter weapons. We've got the flare gun. Shoots a fireball that constantly burns nearby enemies. You've got the revolver, a slow but powerful handgun. You can fan the hammer to unload the entire chamber. I'm just reading the overviews. Another good weapon would be the burst rifle. Hit and run with this 3-round burst rifle. Oh my gosh. It's really good. Here, I'll show you how it works. Alright, so now that you have some newer weapons, by the way, I have wraps on mine so they won't look exactly like this. The burst rifle shoots like this, which is really nice. And it does a really good amount of damage per shot. I think it's something like 20 per shot. Now the flare gun, you only get 2 rounds of this thing, but it fires this. This sits here and damages any enemies that are in it. Here, I'll demonstrate both of these weapons in the shooting range. Alright, now that we're here in the shooting range, let me show you. So if you do this, it does 60 damage. If you do headshot, oh, I guess it only does 75. I was wrong. But it's still really good. So you could, like, do a 75, 75, and then any hit to the body, and they'll be dead. Now, the flare gun's really nice, because you fire it at the ground, and it continually does damage, which can kill people really quickly. And you get 2 shots of it. And you can shoot them while they're burning for extra damage. That was my finishers. I don't know why it's still playing the damage sound effect. Now this next trick is definitely optional, but I find it helpful. Go back into your crosshairs, and you're going to want to go to show while aiming. Now, if you have this on, that means whenever you're aiming, your crosshair will still show up where you want to shoot. As you can see, it's a bit easier to do things, especially if you have a see-through wrap. And so I definitely recommend this. Alright, so for the next weapon, we have the shotgun and the shorty. You can ignore these two, because they aren't part of this. So with the shotgun and the shorty, they have their own special crosshairs to help hit people in the head or the body or wherever, because of the spread their shots have. And while this can be helpful, it can also be a little bit difficult to hit, as you'll end up doing something like this, thinking it's in this, or do this, thinking it'll hit, when you need to do like this, or this. Okay. See, it's just difficult. So one thing I like to do in settings is turn on override special crosshairs. Now, our crosshair for both of these is this, which makes it a lot easier to hit headshots, as you can see. Especially while moving around, it's just way easier. So this is definitely what I would recommend, but still, if you need extra help for stuff like shooting in the correct area, and this is just not what you want, then that's totally cool as well. Here are some bonus tips for keys and accessories. So if you go over to this screen right here, you can see that if you use the code FREE110, you get the 3 keys. So if you go into shop, go into rewards, down at the very bottom, you can see where you put in the code. Above here, also, if you join the group, you can get this little attachment, and I actually have that. It looks like this, and it's kind of nice. So anyway, another thing is in that area, you can also favorite the game to get Shooting Star, and invite your friend to the game to get the cream wrap. So if I just invite someone, I think they have to join for you to get the cream wrap, but if they join, you'll get the wrap. Another tip for mobile players is over here, they have something so that you can go to mobile-only servers, which can be very helpful if you don't want to play against level 100 million computer grinding pros. And that's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye.